One received a copy of the notes, if you feel so inclined to follow along, and one of these sheets that we would like to give you a book of your choosing, our gift to you. It is a joy to do so, and don't be shy. And then afterward, just hand them to my wife. Am I understanding? Is that the idea? So, Louise, this is my beloved Louise. Listen, she believed all my lies, and she's been with me for quite some time. Now, the PowerPoint, I'm not able to see it back there. Oh, over there. Thank you. You can't take me anywhere, man. You got to show me. It's over there. Thank you so much. Listen, there's so much to talk about this morning. Hashem yesterday just troubled my heart. I had something else prepared to teach you today, and the Lord he just changed it up, and so we're going to try to cover a lot of material. But first and foremost, listen, we're at war. As the brother mentioned, it is very up close and personal to me. This morning, we've been in contact with all of our friends, all of our colleagues that we work with in Israel. Some of them sent me photos of them in the bomb shelters. Some expressed concern and fear. Our congregation that we worship in Jerusalem is a precious congregation to my heart. And because of the rockets dropping everywhere, now fortunately things between the United States and Israel and other people, the rockets are being knocked out of the sky, but not all of them. Our congregation, if you can imagine, is our congregational leader. His name is Yossi. His wife is Miriam. We have Joseph and Mary here, you know? I'm not making that up. Anyway, they're having service they had service via Zoom for protection if people were in their shelters and in their homes and this sort of thing. It's a sad day. Everywhere I go, just about everywhere I go, I'm introduced to the security detail. There is a hate against what we do, what you stand for. And I always remind people, the reason the world hates Israel is because they hate the God of Israel. And the God of Israel wrote a book. It has rules, blessings, boundaries, and the world doesn't like that. And as I teach in churches, I remind nice church people, listen, who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the flesh? It's Yeshua. And I remind them, if they don't like Israel, they don't like you much either. We have forgotten that because we've tried to have the world like us so much, you know. And if they hate the God of Israel, they don't like what you believe either. They don't like you. Listen, we're going to give you a update, and we're going to dive into Psalm 69. And I want to tell you something. Now, Purim is coming up. You know, yay. That's a lot of fun. I just finished a conference, just as an aside here, on Women of Fire. You know, Isha, the Hebrew word for woman, really means three things. It means fragile, delicate, and fire, right? And so the conference was on Women of Fire, and we covered Esther, and our dear sister Janet was there when I taught on Rebecca, and she showed the congregation what it looks like, how you like the Shabbat candles, say the blessings, and so on and so forth. And if you would like to listen to those, we have a podcast. You can listen to all of that. But listen, please pray for Israel, and especially the children. My goodness. We feed kids. It's just under 300,000 meals we have provided over the years. And we're going to update you here on recent visit, and they gave me something technical. We'll see what happens here. And but let's begin. Let me give you an update. First of all, let's see. Now, who do I point this at? Okay. The arrow to the right? Yeah, it's on. Okay. It's not happening, guys. You got, okay, we'll just next, okay? All of that. Okay. Now, a reminder, I think I shared this with you the last time I was with you. I may not have an accurate memory here. But last March, a year ago, we fed a bunch of children in Tel Aviv, and one of our colleagues who worked for the Knesset, she worked for Ariel Sharoni, Yitzhak Rabin. She just simply off the cuff, we were having coffee after the fact of providing food, and she says, "Would you like to meet Yarden Bibas?" I said, of course. And so we met with him, and the first thing we said to him when we saw him, we met him, his father, and I just simply said the Hebrew word, there's no English equivalent, is tankumin, which means my humanity resonates with your humanity, my pain with your pain, your sorrow is my sorrow, your grief, my grief. And Shaul, Paul said something similar, didn't he? He says, mourn with those who mourn, rejoice with those who rejoice. That's what tankumin is. And I told him, I said, we want to do something in memory of your wife, Cherie, and two little boys, Kufur, Ariel. Next slide, please. And there they are. You may or may not recall, Yarden was released, and a few weeks later he realized what happened to his wife and children, and they put the bodies of Kufur, I'm sorry. Oh, you're going to take the remote. Okay. No, it's all good, man. Let me get this here for you. Thank you, sir. Okay. So they buried two littles and Mama in the same casket and drove hers through the streets of Jerusalem, and hundreds of thousands lined the streets. And I told them we want to do something in memory. So it works now? Okay, thank you. And so what we did, there we go. Thank you, sir. Whatever you did, thank you. And what we did, you can see highlighted in red there, the city of Ofakim. Now, if you can imagine, the invasion October 7th of Hamas went from Ashkelon, if you can make a semicircle, to Ofakim, and then down to southern Gaza. That's how far Hamas invaded Israel, and you know the story. Over 1,000 were killed, and all of this. So we provided food for hundreds of children that will last them for several months, and we were able to do that. So just a brief update on that. But while there, we met with Dana. Who is Dana? This is the sister of Cherie Bibas, the mother, and the two little red-headed boys that were killed. She met us, and as she hugged me and as she hugged Louise, she told our friend Noya, who set this all up for us, she says, they remind me of my mother and father. What is so significant about that? Her mother and father were killed as well that day. This is Dana's mother and father, Cherie's mother and father, this sort of thing. And we met with her. We laid a wreath that was specially made for this purpose on the grave site. We laid rocks on there. We laid the wreath on there. We said the prayers and the blessings were said, all of that. And there is Cherie, Louise, and myself that day overlooking. What you're seeing there at the base is the grave site of Cherie, Ariel, who was 4 years old, and Kafir, who was 9 months old. Can you imagine the horror, the evil of that? And the children. These children we fed and overcame. They lost their parents. Some of them lost siblings. Some of them lost grandparents. And these are the children that we fed in the name of Cherie Kafir and Ariel Bibas, in the name of Yeshua. And the children suffer PTSD, and they're working through that. And now another war is happening, and rockets are dropping, and sirens are going off, and people are running to shelters. Children, they're the ones that breaks my heart over this war. Okay, so please pray, please pray. And this is Dana that you just saw there. We placed a wreath, met her, so on and so forth. Now, she's a mother of 3. Now, you're in the Israeli military, men are until they're like in their 50s or 60s, depending on their health, and the women as well in the reserve, or until they are a mother, and then they're no longer required. Here, Dana, mother of 3, right after we met her and prayed with her and hugged her, she signed up, she re-upped. She's in Gaza right now, this mother of 3. So please pray for her, please. That war is not over. This thing with Iran is just simply a continuation of what happened in Gaza. Gaza, Hamas is a proxy of Iran. Hezbollah, the Houthis, the jihadists in Syria. This is just a continuation of October 7 invasion. Then the next day or so, I forget how many days, there we are. Mike Huckabee, ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Israel. He heard of our work. We set up a meeting, only to find out just about a week before we met him that we have mutual friends and ministry acquaintances. And he was so humble, so gracious. He met with us for over 40 minutes out of his busy schedule. We talked about Israel. We talked about theology. We talked about the hamatzah, the situation. And he asked me about replacement theology, which is an evil doctrine, an old 2nd century heresy that has new window trapping called replacement theology. Back in the 2nd century, it's called Marcionism, where they deprecate the significance of Israel and the Jewish things of our faith. And so just a humble man. He goes, "Hi, I'm Mike Huckabee," as though we didn't know. And I said, "Nice to meet you." I said, "I voted for you." He says, "You're a very smart man." I said, "Yeah, thank you." Anyway, it's just a lovely time. And then I gave him a copy of my book, 50 Days with God. Just a gracious man. Now, what we're going to address today is part of a lecture I did with the Women of Fire Conference. This was the second lecture on Miriam, and the last lecture of this series is what we're about to cover. But where we left off in the conference was when Mary and Joseph and 5-year-old Jesus, Yeshua, went up to the Galilee and settled in Nazareth. And we talked about that when he was 12 years old. You remember he was in the temple, and Mary and Joseph, they a day out, and they said, "Where's Yeshua?" And she said, "I thought you knew where he was." "I don't know. I thought you knew where he was." They asked around. They couldn't find Yeshua. They traveled a day back, and then they took another day just to find him. 3 days. Can you imagine a 12-year-old boy in a big city now, an infusion of about 1 million people? It was, Passover, Pesach. And they found him, and he was asking questions and answering questions, and it's called putting she'ilot, as you know, which is a very important thing, Jewish students, to ask questions. And so we talked about that, and he says, I must be about my Father's will, and Mary and Joseph, they were confused about that. What in the world is he talking about? And then if you read the text, that he was to remain subject to his mother and father. So we talked about that. And then we talked about the significance of Jewish education, Bible education. These are kids studying Scripture, and you see the little pages are laminated, and there's a reason for that. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. There's a little boy studying. And I don't know if you can see this. This is from a 1990-something magazine, Jewish Spectator. And what is the little boy doing? He's licking honey off the page. This is a Jewish tradition. The Lord would have learned that. Mary would have taught him when he was 4 or 5 years old. They would have had a piece of honey cake if they could afford, or a piece of pita and put honey on it. And the idea is what the Psalms say, that the word is sweet like honey, sweet to the taste. And what's interesting about this, I taught this. I was a pastor 100 years ago and had a large church, a large school, K through 12, 1,260 some kids in the school. And each year as the school year started, we would anoint the teachers and pray over them. And I told them this story about the honey. And a few days after the fact, I got a word from the superintendent and said, what in the world? Some of the teachers put honey on the books, the pages, and the books are ruined. I said, no, anyway. But anyway, they took it very, very, very seriously. Anyway, so we talked about that. Then, and by the way, look at this. This women studying. We are to be people of the book. We are to be people of the book. Not just know about, but immerse ourselves into the teaching. Hearts, our minds, our soul, and it takes a lot of work. We segued then, at this point in this last lecture, to Psalm 69. And you can follow along in your notes if you feel inclined, or just sit and listen. Listen, Psalm 69 is a mystical and messianic psalm. This poetic portrait is a presage, to be sure, very mysterious in context, and mystical in expounding profound spiritual insights. It takes us behind the scenes, revealing the childhood of Mashiach, the one who was foretold to come. We discover the personal pain Jesus, Yeshua, experienced as a little boy, a precursor of things to come when he was an adult. The psalm, now listen, the psalm was written about 900 years before Mary gave birth to her firstborn son. In verses 1 through 4, we read this: Save me, O God, for the waters have come up to my neck. Sink in deep mire where there is no standing. Come into deep waters where floods overflow me. Weary with the crying, my throat is dry, my eyes fail, while I wait for my God. Those who hate me without a cause are more than the hairs of my head. They are mighty who want to destroy me. Being my enemies wrongfully, though I have stolen nothing, I still must restore it. He didn't do it. However, he must fix it. These verses reveal to us the one who is wrongfully accused, with multitudes hating him without a cause. Listen, he must restore that which he did not take because of sin. We have an inference here to the crying of a little boy or a young child experiencing distress or anguish. Verse 7, because for your sake I have borne reproach, shame has covered my face. Messiah, as the suffering Lamb of God, he was innocent. He bore our reproach and shame. Verses 8 to 9. I have become a stranger to my brothers and an alien to my mother's children, because zeal for your house has eaten me up, and the reproaches of those who reproach you have fallen on me. Not only do these verses speak of the rejection of Yeshua by the religious leaders of his day, but also his disciples who fled from his side when the Roman soldiers came being led by Judas to take him away. And yet there's another level here of interpretation, referencing his siblings as he was growing up, who did not believe until after the resurrection. Now listen, Nazareth was a little town on the outskirts, about 200 people. The townspeople found it difficult to accept Jesus and to believe that he was the Son of God. Here we have where Pilate says, choose Yeshua HaMashiach or Yeshua ben Barnabas, which means son of the rabbi. Choose. And they chose to crucify Jesus. Listen, in this little town of Nazareth on the outskirts, it was like in the old days, I don't know how it is today, but an old truck stop, as it were. Caravans would come through. There were prostitutes there. It was a low city of bad reputation. There would have been a lot of gossip about Mary. Listen, the talk about the town would have gone something like this. Joseph was not his father. They said it was an angel that appeared to her and announced that she was pregnant. Can you believe it? We don't know who the father is. They say it was an angel. This kind of talk would have been emphasized in Mark 6, verse 3, where Jesus taught in his hometown in Nazareth, in his synagogue. And the congregants who knew Jesus made these comments. Listen. Remember when they said, is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary? First of all, in Jewish culture, a son is never identified through his mother, only through his father. Yeshua would have been addressed as Yeshua ben Yossi. That's how they would have said it. That's how they would have thought of it. The son of Joseph. By referencing him as Yeshua ben Miriam, the son of Mary, they were calling him, now listen, they were calling him a bastard son. Or directly insulting Mary as a loose woman of low morals. We don't know who the father is. They said it was an angel. How goofy is that? How silly is that? That's what they were saying. Jesus, Yeshua, was not accepted in his hometown and would have been considered this bastard son. His younger siblings would have been affected by the peer pressure of the townspeople. There would have been an immeasurable amount of tension, listen, between family members and the community. This was a very troubled situation here. We kind of romanticize it. No. Verses 11 and 12. I also made sackcloth my garment. I became a byword to them. This is the Mashiach. I became a byword to them. Those who sit in the gate speak against me. And I am the song of drunkards. Very simply, Jesus growing up, being a citizen of Nazareth, would have been ridiculed by his neighbors to the point of becoming a slanderous byword, a proverb, and at the places of importance, at the gate, they would have made fun of him. Verses 19, 20, 21. You know my reproach, my shame, my dishonor, my adversaries are all before you. Reproach has broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness. I looked for someone to take pity, but there was none. And for comforters, but I found none. They also gave me gall for my food. Sound familiar? And for my thirst, they gave me vinegar to drink. You know, the Lord manifested compassion on those who hated him. who made fun of him, who made his name a byword from an early age. As a child, his heart became so heavy, looking for someone to take pity, and he found none. And moments like these, listen, would have prepared him as a small town boy for the challenge of facing the Roman courts, ultimately leading up to his execution, for him to be able to say, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." As a little boy, being rejected, ridiculed, made fun of, prepared him for that day to say, "Forgive them." Verse 26, "For they persecute the ones you have struck, and talk of the grief of those you have wounded." Jesus shall grow up, according to Isaiah 53, and he will be despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, persecuted, smitten of God, and afflicted. Ladies and gentlemen, the prophets foretold, the Nevi'im foretold all these events in Holy Scripture. Mary follows her son's ministry wherever he went. Remember the story of turning water into wine, or if this is not a Baptist church, Welch's wine, never mind. This is where she said, "Listen, whatever he says to you, do it." Yaakov, James said, "You will know my faith by my works, by what I do." And that's interesting. In Israel today, you're not known by what you say, you're known by what you do. And if what you say matches what you do, all the better. Do what he tells you to do. And that's how we are known. We are known as humanitarians in Israel. We've been there for so long, we have now earned the right to speak. We have friends connected with the Knesset, civic leaders, religious leaders, both believing and non-believing in Yeshua. We're in their homes now. Why do you do this, Dr. Jeff? Thank you for asking. I've earned the right now to speak. And our team, it just empowers our team, the people, our colleagues in Israel, because we do it the right way, if that makes any sense. Whatever he says to you, do it. Mary, oh man. You have to listen to the podcast. This woman, this delicate, fragile woman, had fire. She was at the cross. Simeon prophesied to her, "A sword will pierce your soul." Can you imagine? After the bris, after the circumcision, around 32 days after the bris, she's Joseph dedicating him in the temple, this holy moment. And Simeon, he's rejoicing that he saw the Messiah before he died. He praised the Lord for that. But then he told this young mother, a sword is going to pierce your soul, Mom, Ema. Can you imagine him saying that? Well, that day Judas left the table at Pesach to do the dastardly thing he was about to do. He said, now listen, I will show you the one you must arrest. That night in the Garden of Gethsemane, about 3 or 4 in the morning, you could hear the clanging of the soldier's armor. And he says, the one that I kiss is the one you arrest. Of course, he kissed the face of Yeshua. And they arrested him, and they took him through the Kidron Valley up to the house of Caiaphas, ultimately to Pilate. They beat him, and you know the story. And he carried the crossbeam through the narrow streets of Jerusalem, in which I love those narrow streets. And they took him outside of the city walls to the place of execution. And as the Lord laid down, they pounded those big spikes through his wrists and his ankles. He would have twisted his body. And not only did they nail him, but as the spikes went through the wood, if it went through the wood, they would have bent the pointy part of the spikes to secure his body on the cross. They raised the cross up in a pre-dug hole with a big, his joints would have gone out, his arms would have gone out of joint, the pain would have just been beyond measure. And there Mary was. Can you imagine, Mom? Can you imagine, Father? Can you imagine? There's her son hanging there. During that time, the Lord said many things. Father, forgive them. I thirst. Darkness came over the scene, similar to when Abraham, listen, the people could not see what was about to happen. Remember Abraham taking Yitzhak, taking Isaac up to the Mount Moriah, the same place. And he told the servants, you stay behind. Why? You cannot see the holiness that is about to take place. Similarly, darkness fell upon the earth. And Jesus cried out, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? At that moment, many theologians believe that he who knew no sin became sin for us. And that at the exact hour of the slaying of the Passover lambs at 3 p.m, he cried out, it is finished. He said, no man takes my life, but I lay it down. If I lay it down, I'll take it back again. At the exact moment, he died. And the apostle said that he became our Passover lamb. Have you ever thought about how they would have taken him off the cross? The spikes were bent on the other end. His wrists were there. His ankles were nailed. The men, the soldier says, truly this must be the Son of God. John was there. Hopefully another soldier was there. Mary was there. How they got him off the cross, ladies and gentlemen, they had to, first of all, take his ankles somehow and rip. But you cannot like take a hammer and undo the spike. They ripped his ankles off. Can you imagine? And Mary is saying this, a sword shall pierce your soul, Mary. Then they had to take one wrist and pull it off. The other wrist, pull it off. lowered his body, and a dead body is a very heavy thing. A very heavy thing. Do you remember the song, Mary, Did You Know? As she kissed the baby's face, and it's true. When she gave birth, when she kissed, and his face would have been bloodied giving birth. I mean, this is a pretty photo, but the baby would have had bloodied face and arms and limbs, and she wrapped him in pieces of clothing, extra clothing that she had, and so forth. And as she kissed his bloody face, she was kissing the face of God. And 33 years or so later, she did the very same thing again. She kissed his face. As I told you, Hashem stirred and troubled my heart to just share this with you, to remind us this is why we are here. This is what we believe. He was buried and he rose again. And in this crazy, upside down world, where the world hates Israel like never before, and the world hates you and me like never before, this is why we show up. This is why we love him with all of our heart. This is why we love each other with all of our heart. By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another, because we love Yeshua. We love each other. This is why we are here. And we forget that sometimes. We go, oh yeah, it's about the cross, okay. No. It should bring us to tears. It should move us with great compassion and motivation to whatever he says that we do. Why? He is the one that was foretold to come. He is the Son of God, God in the flesh. And he rose again. Because he rose, we will rise. This is why. You read the verse about blessing your neighbors. Go across the street and bless your neighbor. They need what you have. Listen. I know it's been a long morning and now it's in the afternoon. Congregation, I ask three things of you. If you think of us at all, we covet your prayers. Second, to Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Especially now. It's the children. And number three, if God touches your heart to help us feed these kids, just be obedient. Listen. This is that day last year, Yarden and his father. This happened. You know what happened. You read the stuff, what Hamas did. The evil things they did to children, to babies, to families. And this is 4-year-old Ariel. Do you know that day when the hearse carried the casket of Cherie, Kafir, and little Ariel? Hundreds of thousands lined the streets dressed in orange. Why? Because of the red hair. And they dressed in Batman outfits, as you know, because Ariel liked Batman. Ben Gurion Airport changed out their lights to orange that day. This is what we do. We feed kids, we feed children. In Ofakim, and we'll close here, in Ofakim, every one of those children in that city, as we provided thousands of meals for hundreds of children, every one of those kids, I can't wrap my head around it. Every one of those children lost either a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a cousin, a grandma, a grandpa. This is real. Congregation, it's not us and them versus them. We are to be salt and light, are we not? We're part of this world, as crazy and as mixed up and as evil as it is. We are to go into the world, not withdraw from the world, go into the world and shed and spread your light and that salt that God has given you. And whatever He tells you to do, do it. That's what we're here for. And this is why we are here. He who knew no sin became sin, so that we who are sinners can find righteousness in His name as we believe. Congregation, thank you so much for your kindness, your love. Thank you for your prayers. Shabbat shalom.